Hi everyone. In this DIP Hangout of today, we are going to be discussing the topic of anger and specifically looking at how anger can be something destructive in your life and how anger can compromise situations, relationships, etc. in your life, and how you can take that destructive pattern and component that anger has and turn it into something constructive and learn from it so that it doesn't end up controlling your life. So with us today is Fred Schwing. Cheung, how do I pronounce your name?
Cheung.
Cheung. Hi, Fred.
Yeah. Hi.
So, Fred, could you explain a little bit about how anger has played out in your life? Like, how did you experience anger in your life?
Well, first of all, I would say that anger is something that has been a serious problem in my life because I was a very frustrating person, and I use anger to almost basically anger and blame is the two most difficult things that I need to overcome. And later on, I become as B said, that later on my anger has become on the physical level, which is first it is consciousness level. You can still control your anger. You still have time to think before you act. But later on, it becomes subconscious, and then it becomes automatic in the unconscious level, which means I don't want to get angry. I don't want to use anger and blame to handle the situation, but the feelings and the emotions just automatically comes up. So that's what I've been experiencing. And also there was a period of time that when I haven't met this website yet, so I don't know how to handle it. I have problems in sleeping. I have symptoms of high blood pressure, which my mother also has high blood pressure. It is a serious health problem for everyone. So that's the consequences of anger that I've been experiencing.
So when you say hyperpressure, okay, so just firstly to be clear, when you say that this website that you found, you're referring to Destiny?
Yes.
Okay. So when you say hyperpressure in your mind, can you describe a little bit what that is? Because I, for instance, don't really know what that means.
I remember that the Dolphin have written a paragraph explaining the high blood pressure and low blood pressure. So just Google it on Destiny Dolphin high blood pressure, low blood pressure, and I'm sure that you will be able to locate it.
Oh, high blood pressure.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I misheard you.
English is not my native language.
Okay, so could you maybe give an example of a situation wherein anger would become physical?
For instance, when I was in the supermarket and there was a car, obviously a small second-hand car, the driver is apparently to be a low-income family. They have a lot of frustrations and things like that. And then we were crossing across the pedestrian, and then they have to stop, so they feel very angry, so they sound the horn.
Mm-hmm.
The horn, and then automatically I feel offended and I feel very frustrated, and I have the facial expressions of angriness and things like that. It becomes very automatic. You only have like less than 1 second to control yourself, not even to decide, but to control yourself, to try to not to use anger and blame to handle the situation. And that's basically what physical level of angriness is like. You don't have time to think anymore. It becomes so automatic. It's just like performing on a stage. it becomes, I'm sure that if people or have experience of playing on the stage, you are so, you don't have time to think. You just throw out your reactions, your brains, your angers and frustrations and things like that. And yeah, basically like that.
That's a very cool comparison with like the example of being on a stage.
Yes.
Yes, with anger, I've experienced that with myself as well, that it can be very quick and automatic.
Possessed.
Yeah. So you mentioned that in your example, you would become angry because you felt offended by, you know, the behavior of that person who was hooting at you. So was that typically the kind of anger that you would experience, like feeling offended? Or
yes.
Are there different types of anger that you experience?
For myself, most of the angers that I experience is blame. It's like I blame. It's very much like how I copy it or I inherit it from my mother. She blames everything, almost everything around her world. So I still remember when I was a child, I don't have this type of automatic anger possession, being possessed by the anger character.
Mm-hmm.
I still can handle myself because my earliest memory that I can remember is when I was looking at my mom yelling at me. I was thinking, why did the adults will handle situations like this? But later on, because it happens so many times, and then it's kind of like I find that I don't feel good, so I want to throw away the feelings through blaming and expressing my angers to others, putting my not expressing, but put my frustration out. Mm-hmm. and put on other people's shoulder side instead of taking it and self introspecting myself and realizing, I mean, because I totally have no concept about how you treat others is how you will be treated in the future. And I'm living in the future, living in the past of what I accepted and allowed in the past. I totally have no concept. I do not have this type of concept. So I developed my character into very heavy. Like whenever you are not cool, then you will speak out, spew out venoms, speak out the words like what Bernard said. Because there was a stage where I tried to use self-forgiveness at the beginning to clear my angerness, because I found that the blame and the angerness is a very serious problem that has been hindering me. So later on, because it didn't work very well. So I asked for Bernard's assistant, and then Bernard told me that it's because the words that you speak out, you don't care. You use words to abuse. You abuse the words that you speak out, and you become angry at yourself later on. And that's the source of my angerness. So I found out, oh, okay. So that's the cause. So I watch the words that I speak. I try to treat everyone as equal as me. I always remind myself that they are just me. Of course, because the anger has become physical. So whenever I have disagreement or argument, or even argument with others, I will become angry very quickly. But I will be able to remind myself to stay in breath. Don't go there. Basically, because I know the road that leads me to blame and angriness is not going to solve anything at all. Really, it's not going to solve it. It's not going to help the situation, and it's not going to help me. It will only make me getting more frustrations, more anger, or even leading to high blood pressure, jeopardizing my health, and it's not worth it. It's not worth it, because blaming is not taking your self-responsibility, and also you still need to face the serious consequences of blaming and putting your frustrations, especially exhausting your frustrations on others later. Yeah.
So you said that basically something that assisted you to be able to work through this anger and to basically kind of manage your anger and make sure that your anger doesn't become this physically possessive point where you lash out at people and end up getting angry at yourself for the things that you've said, etc. So basically a point that has assisted you with that is to watch your words, is to become more aware of the words that you're speaking and of the actual consequences that the words you speak have on yourself and your environment.
Yes. Be a responsive person in existence.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool point, because if we have a look at ourselves and other people, when we get angry, there is that point of like not caring about anything that you're saying, and then we end up saying very mean and hurtful and spiteful things just because of that experience of anger in that moment that's kind of driving us to just say whatever's coming out of our mouth, and it's like we just really just don't care, and then afterwards comes the regret and the anger with ourselves for the things that we've basically allowed ourselves to say while in that kind of emotional storm.
Yeah, I also suggest or say that maybe in the future we can also talk about spite, because spiting people, spiting things, that's the very naughtiest thing on earth. And like my whole family, my father's side family, family tree, everyone spite. I mean, I was being grew up as a family that spite everyone.
So what do you mean when you say spite?
Like they blame others, they blame each other whenever they feel uncomfortable, or they use spite, S-P-R-I-T, if I remember it correctly. Spite.
Okay.
Spite. They use spiting to kind of like a curse or being possessed, physical level, or whatever you can call it. They use it as an entertainment. Like whenever they feel unhappy about anything or any relative, they just spite.
Okay, yeah. So maybe also a different way to kind of clarify what spite is, it's like, for me, it's the ultimate point of not caring. Like doing things in spite of knowing better. Like you know in the back of your mind that you should be nice to people, or you should be polite, or you should care about people, or that if I say this and that, then this person is going to react like that, and then I'm going to create conflict and I'm going to create consequences, so I should not be doing all these things, but in spite of all that, I'm doing it anyways because of this emotion that I'm experiencing. So I suppose spite, you could say, is like the ultimate allowing yourself to be driven by your emotions.
Yes.
It's like there's no voice of reason anymore inside of yourself. You're just kind of going along with the emotional energy of anger, for instance.
So I would say the ultimate sign of or expression that is lost in separation. Because you don't see the other one as another you anymore. You see that as a total separation of just a separate object or person.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's also something that Jesus said, placing a guard in front of your mouth, which is, a very valuable point to consider, because it's the same thing. It's just being aware of the things that you say, because the things that you speak have consequences, not just on other people, but also on yourself. Because then if you allow yourself to speak without reason or without being aware of what you're saying, or the starting point from which you're saying it, then you're going to end up being angry with yourself or regretting things and stuff like that.
Yes, I mean, I have personally experienced that and have make blame and anger become the physical unconscious level. And I know I can't emphasize enough is, if you can choose, I mean, I would suggest people do not choose this path, because there are a lot of self-forgiveness. You need to take a lot of time and effort to locate the source of your brain. How do you create this pattern? How did you create this character? And then try to fix it. So why not create a problem at the very beginning?
Yeah, that's a very good point, indeed.
Yeah. Because I wasn't like what you are seeing me right now. When I get angry, it's like totally possessed by emotions and totally not a present feeling at all. Mm-hmm. Because later on you will feel that you get very high blood pressure inside you. The blood flow will pump up, and then you don't feel. It seems to be an easy way out for the anger and frustration that's arising inside you, but actually afterwards, you yourself, it doesn't help the situation. It might offend the other person later on after you spill out the words. And thirdly, you will experience a high blood pressure and not being able to calm down for a long period of time. So anger is not anger. I would say anger goes hand in hand with blame, most of the time, because you start to blame someone or something, then you get frustrated and angry at them. I would say do not blame. Just like Sunesh said and suggest, look at the situation, look at okay, I am currently involved in the situation like this. So what can I do? How, if there's a mess, like there's a mess in the toilet on the floor, how can I arrange or direct other people, including myself, to clean it up? Because that's most important. Just like very much like what we are walking in process right now. There's a mess inside you. There's a mess inside everyone. So I was still a little bit blaming, like anew, blaming the mind, blaming why do I have to walk all this self-forgiveness process? Why do I have to go through this endeavor to, to become a better person, or try to even become live in the future or after I die. Later on, I realized that that's not important anymore, because you have a mess inside you. If you're still blaming, just sitting here blaming, getting angry, nothing's going to change. You are not going to change. The world's not going to change. Your time is limited. Your opportunity is limited. You only have certain decades. For me, let's say 40 years at most. So why not try to do as much as you can being constructive? Spend your time constructively instead of blaming and getting angry. It's just a mind's energies way or game to divert your attention out from the mass. Because right now, what I realize is you have to put all, that's what self-introspection comes in. You have to look inside yourself. Okay, what I have done, what I have accepted and allowed in the past, so that I'm facing this type of people, facing this type of situations. So how do I change myself to not make the same mistakes again? First of all, clean up the mess. Secondly, how to self-introspect, arrange everyone have a meeting or things like that. That's how practically use or transcend the way of handling. That's my way of transcending handling of situation instead of getting into blame and anger.
Cool. So to summarize, basically some of the techniques that you've used to get yourself from, being possessed with anger into more of a stable, grounded point inside of yourself in relation to situations is, firstly, be aware of your words.
Yes.
And breathing and self-forgiveness.
Yes.
And the last point being being aware of, what's actually
a solution, like what Sinesh says, a solution-based approach instead of ego approach.
Yeah. Which is essentially, I would say, the awareness that, as long as you're angry, you're not going to be able to see the situation with clarity anyways. Because you'll only see, what's going on in your own mind as those points of blame towards other people. Like, you won't see where a person is coming from, or how you can actually fix a situation, or what that person actually needs to hear in order for them to get out of whatever point that they might be in. Like, for instance, with the people in the car who were honking at you, like, they were also angry.
Yeah.
So with you then putting on that frowning face, like an angry face towards them, it's only going to fuel their anger even more. And you're also not seeing where they're coming from, or why they're angry, or what you can actually do, or how you can actually express yourself in order to assist them to step out of their anger.
I will also say is to leave, not just pay attention to your breath, leave breath. That's a very important point. Leave your breath in every moment. Because when you're staying in breath, it's much easier it's like you are not living in the mind most of the time, if not at all. If you stay in a breath, which means leaving your breath all the time, it is easier to become stable that way. Because for some of the beginners, they might think they understand what we say, or they understand the destiny materials, but it's just difficult to apply on the practical way. At the beginning, I was having this problem, or trouble too. It's easy to say control, because first of all, I don't want to suppress my angriness, because I know that's another topic, but if you suppress your angriness, there's another serious consequence that you need to face. One of them is snorting. Snorting is because you have suppressed a lot of emotions. That's what Sinesh said. Don't call me. So I don't want to suppress my angers, but I also want to resolve my anger and brain problem. So like that. It's easy. I remember. Sorry, it's difficult. Sometimes it's difficult to remember what I want to say. It's easy to understand on a words level, on the instruction. It's kind of like you read the manual. It's easy to read. You seems to understand. You seems to be able to tell you, okay, I got all the main points. But when you actually, you have to do it just like in sales. You have to. Everyone knows how to do it basically the main points of how to do it themselves. But you have to actually do it in a practical level that you don't have to think, and it becomes automatic. It's like become the good way of physical level, become the good way of unconscious level.
Yeah.
But doing the good thing instead of the bad thing, or not the way that you want to handle. So it takes time to practice. It takes experience.
Okay, cool. So it's essentially the principle of practicing something, like every time you see yourself wanting to go into that anger, rather practice the techniques to bring yourself out of it, and then after a while it will become more easy and more, natural to make that shift.
Yes, I didn't success on the first try. It takes me many practice and many times of failure to climb back, to stand up again, to try again. The point is keep trying. As long as you know the path is right, the direction is right, keep trying. Don't give up. Keep trying. Even for anger and blame, for example, like right now, I have control or subside the level of angriness to a certain level that I still get angry sometimes, especially when my mom or other people is throwing their frustrations at me. I still become automatically responsive with anger sometimes, but I forgive myself, then remind myself, if I cannot stop the blame and angriness character right now, right away, then let me at least subside the reaction, make it react less and less react, until one day I finally meet the goal and become successful. And this what Bernard said, and he's very right. Everything that you think you can get a quick response or quick results on a snap of your fingers, that's mine. That's not true. That's not how existence works. Existence works in time and space. It works with practice, and practice. Failure and learn from it, and try again.
Yeah, I'd say that's a really good way of, and a practical, realistic way of looking at it, looking at the process of, self-change.
Yes.
Definitely. So what I'd also like to ask you is, with being able to change some or most or part of this kind of anger pattern inside of yourself, how have you seen that this change has influenced your life?
Well, there are, first of all, there are many aspects or many areas of advantages of being able to subside or control your anger and blame. First of all, what I find is physically, which is on my health, it will be much easier to sleep because you don't have that anger rushing constantly inside you. Because people might think, okay, I get frustrated, I get angry, and then 5 minutes later, I will be fine. I will be feeling more comfortable. That's the wrong concept. It's not like that. For angriness, it will stick with you for a very long time. Once you get angry, like you will be. I even to an extent that if I get angry in the afternoon, it will be difficult to get to sleep at night. It will take me much longer to fall into a sleep. That's what I found physically on my physical bodies that helps me. Second thing is you feel more comfortable because you stop the source of the problem. You don't get angry or don't get that angry to that extent all the time. So that's the actual way of, like, self-forgiveness. That's the actual way, legitimate ways to correct yourself. Because angry for me, from my understanding, anger mostly, as I emphasized many times, it stems from blame. If you don't blame that person or don't blame that thing, mostly it's personal. I mean, we seldomly blame a toilet. We blame people a lot. If you don't bring them and start looking at the situation of how I can practically help myself, how I can practically, most importantly, is to direct the situation, clean up the mess first. Then we talk about, not talk about who's responsible, but talk about how can we don't make the same mistakes again, how can we make it even better. And then once you remove the brain part out of your mind, or most of the part out of your mind, I found out that I view the world differently, because the realization that I found it most helpful in helping me to remove the brain part is I realize I need to start see everyone and everything in existence as me, in the world as me. Then it's easier to, because how can you blame another one as you, currently separated as another body, but they are you inside. It's like left hand fighting with right hand, it's pointless. So I realized that blame is pointless. So why go there? And once you remove the blame, is a lot of emotions will subside. You will not feel the angriness and blame as much as you feel before. It makes the body feels better. I mean, you can feel that. I mean, for the beginners, you can start observing how your body is expressing the signals to yourself. You can feel that your body is feeling better and more clear on handling situations. Because as I said, you were just running in a loop. When you were getting angry, you're not solving or helping anyone, including yourself.
Yeah, I also found that when I get angry, it's like I disconnect myself from my body entirely. Like I'm just here in my head.
Yes.
And there will be like a lot of thoughts looping around in my head, and everything is like very much concentrated and focused here. And sometimes I'll even have a headache. So the anger is definitely something that you can measure on a physical level in terms of
And I just have a realization is also the source of why I want to blame, or I believe most people want to blame other people, is because they don't want to take the responsibility or do not want to do the cleaning themselves. So they start blaming others and hoping others will, or at least helping them or taking advantage of something like that. That's one of my starting point of why I blame, and I just realized through these conversations that's cool.
Yeah, I mean that's also a point that I know that I've applied in my relationships. Like sometimes I'll get angry, but when I look at it, I kind of know that me getting angry is not going to make that other person change.
Yes.
And it's also not about the other person changing. It's because when I get angry, it's like I'm doing it to myself. I'm making myself feel really bad, which is kind of weird, because when you get angry with someone else, you kind of want them to feel bad, but what you're actually doing is making yourself feel bad. You're giving yourself a headache, high blood pressure. You're making yourself completely feel uncomfortable, and there's all these thoughts running around in your head. So it's really like, it's my responsibility. I mean, no matter what I'm angry about, even if I'm so convinced that this other person has done something really bad and I have a right to be angry, even then, it's never about the reasoning behind why I'm angry. It's more just about, okay, I'm making myself feel angry. Anger is actually not necessary at all to be able to solve this problem. So anger from that perspective is even something very strange. Like, why does it even come up in the mind? You know, it holds no purpose.
Yes, and also angry is a form of energy. What I realized, what I found over myself is I was kind of like addicted to the energy feelings, because angry and brain makes me feel better.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make the situation better. It doesn't help solving the situation, but it makes me feel better. So my ego starts to want to feel the anger, almost like I feel the good feeling as energy, as emotions, as anger. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to hang on to that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't give a damn about the people or the world around me or around the incidents. So that's another point that I would like to add. Yeah, is to not get addicted to the feeling of it. Almost angry has become a feeling instead of an emotion, because people feel good when they being possessed by the anger characters.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I found that there's a lot of emotional experiences that can actually feel good, and that the reason why we would participate in them is that even though it's a bad emotion like sadness or anger or
Yeah,
depression, you know, but there's this side of it that kind of makes it feel good, you know, that makes it feel good indulging in that emotion, even though we feel bad. So it's a very strange kind of thing. So that's, I would say, also an aspect to definitely investigate when you're in an emotion like anger. Like, ask yourself, why does it make me feel good? Like, why do I actually feel good about feeling angry? You know, what is it about this that is fueling some kind of pleasure center inside of myself? Or, you know what I mean? Like, because that would be the kind of devil on your shoulder as the hidden motives and the hidden reasoning that's going on in the back of your mind, you know, that's actually running the operation behind the scenes.
because for example, like I use myself as an example. That is when, like when I slow it down, when I look at it again, it is like when you get angry, when you get exploded inside you with angriness, you are feeling two type of feelings. First of all, is you feel angriness, and also an expectation of feeling better afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Another type of feelings is there's also an euphoric energy experience inside you that I was partially, subconsciously getting addicted to this. That's why I use angry more and more and more
Okay,
often.
so you're saying that it's actually anger is like a release, like
It's like and it's like a feeling and an energy experience. Because also, for example, like you said, depression, sadness. I have experienced those too
mm-hmm.
before, and those are also energies. There's
Mm-hmm.
this a logical part or logical symptoms that we experience, like angriness, the word angriness, the meaning, the definition that we experience. But there's also another emotion or energy feeling part of that pattern that we experience. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm talking about. And that's the part that we are addicted to. We might not be addicted to blame. We might not be addicted to getting angry, but we are addicted to being uh, uh, experiencing the energy part of angriness and blame.
Yeah,
And
it's fascinating. I think we're almost at the time.
okay,
But the last question that I would still like to ask is, you know, what tips or advice would you give to someone who is watching this hangout right now and who is also experiencing this point of, you know, being addicted to anger, or just, you know, experiencing anger a lot of the times, or just kind of blowing up in situations? You know, what kind of tips or advice would you give to that person?
Okay. First of all, I would say everybody knows, if you realize that anger has become a problem or a troubling you, everyone knows they need to get help if you cannot resolve it yourself. It's very simple to say how to do it. That's what we have been talking all along in this video. You can stay in breath, self-forgiveness yourself, do not participate in the mind energy, start looking at the solution-based approach of how to clean up the mess, then how to not prevent yourself and others to do the same again. Do not blame. That's a summarize. Now, how do you do it, or how do you get help, or how did I develop from knowing nothing to become having the realization of these few points? Is I would suggest you first join the DIP Light to help yourself to understand all these basic backgrounds, because everything you want to deal with, everything on earth have experience. I would say it this way: every subject on earth, if you want to do it good, being able to handle it efficiently, effectively, you have to gain experience, and you have to go step by step. That's why we go to schools. We learn from elders. We learn from parents, teachers. I would suggest them join the DIP Light. Is free. Then consider go to DIP Pro. Then going each year and each year go deeper and deeper, further and further to help yourself being a better person, build a better self at this stage, inner self first. At the end of the day, it's just a numbers game, which means, let's say if 10,000 people watch this video, only a portion of them will join the DIP Lights, and then further down, a portion of the DIP Lights participants will join DIP Pro. So I do not expect everyone to react, but I would sincerely urge everyone to consider, look at what angriness has made you become a monster of. How do you feel being a monster of angriness, being possessed by angriness and blame character? If you say, I'm okay, then there's nothing that I can do. But if you say, no, I do not want to continue like this, then consider join DIP Pro, do more research on the internet about destiny and DIP Pro, DIP Light. I'm sorry, I mean DIP Light first. So that's what I would like to share.
Cool. Yeah, so there are definitely, you know, support platforms out there like DIP Light or the Destiny Forum, you know, when you don't necessarily want to commit to something. And even DIP Light, you know, it's light. It's free online course. It teaches you in a very simple way the tools that you can use to, for example, you know, be able to work with anger. So, okay, thank you very much, Fred, for your perspective and sharing your journey and your process in relation to anger. I'm sure that many people out there will be able to relate to it and find this very helpful.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kim. And I would like to say thank you everyone that watched at this point. You are still with us. So thank you for your time, and let's hope my experience can help you and help everyone that find it worthy.
Yes. All right. See you next time, everyone.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye bye.